I am absolutely delighted to be back hosting the Willie Morgan Show with Manchester United icon Willie Morgan. We promised you last week we would have a special guest. Willie summed it up by saying we've got Jesus himself on the show. We've got Robert Powell with us this evening. Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, thank you.
The first question I've got for you, Robert, just sum up your love of Manchester United, because I know you're a massive fan of the club, and even to this day, you watch every game that you possibly can.
I do. I've learned a technique with United now, particularly in the last, let's say, 4 years. I worked it out that it was an hour and a half that I would never get back if I spent watching United get beaten yet again. So what I do is I record it, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I record every match, and sometimes I do watch them live, but I record every match, and then I check the score, and if we've won, I watch it, and if we haven't, I don't bother, because I just find it too depressing. No, it's my relationship with Manchester United started a very, very, very long time ago. I had a buddy. I was born in Salford, about probably 2 miles from Old Trafford, and I had a buddy, and we used to play in the park all the time. And one day we decided that we were old enough. I think we were 7 or 8. Listen, 7 or 8 years old, we decided that we'd go and watch football. So we tossed a coin. Actually, it wasn't. I'm not sure that we tossed a coin as to whether it was City or United. But in fact, City Main Road was actually quite a long way away. So I think we opted for Old Trafford. That was the initial reason for doing it. And we started going all the home games. We started going to Old Trafford at aged 7 or 8. I still can't believe I'm saying this. We walked there, and when we got there with our sixpence, obviously the grown-ups kind of assisted us a bit, and then they hand us down to Stretford End, and we stand behind the goal. And if United were playing away, obviously we couldn't go, so we used to go down to Weast and watch Salford play rugby. But it was a passion that really became. Somebody said, are you a fan? I said, it's a bit more than that these days. I had the black-edged copy, which I still have. I have the black-edged copy of the Manchester Evening News from February 1958. Yeah. I still have that newspaper. That's how bad it is.
Wow.
You know. Hey.
Wow.
But it is a it's like its own religion. Man United, the fans, the feeling, it's fantastic. And it's the same all over the world, where you go and obviously, I was in China a year ago, 8 months. I can't believe it. The Chinese, there were droves coming out, getting taken places. Hundreds and hundreds of them with Manchester United scarves. This is in China, and it's crazy. But it's lovely, but all over the world. And it's a very special feeling. Samat created, I don't know, he just created a myth. And they are a myth. Even when they're not winning, they're still a myth. It's one of those rare things that happens in your lifetime.
Well, I used to say, people said, what makes United so special? Why is it that they've become this phenomenon? And I said, largely because, and this is my memory of it anyway, it was the most attacking football team. It didn't matter if you conceded goals as long as you scored more than the other side. So a 5-4 victory was fine. Didn't matter about losing, but they were always attacking.
But that was Matt's philosophy, just all about going out and winning, scoring goals.
Yeah.
Didn't matter, like you said, and he really did mean it. Let 6 in, that's okay, as long as you score 7, I don't mind. And that's how we played until Mourinho came, of course, and then we had 10 men playing behind the goalie. Yeah. He's doing it at Tottenham now, isn't he? He's got 10 men behind the goalkeeper. But you're right, it's just all about playing, attacking football and letting players. Matt had no tactics, none. People say to me, "Oh, you must have been a great tactician and a great coach." You'd never heard of the word coach. And I said, "Tactician? No." Oh, Matt said, "Well, oh, you're better than them. Just go and enjoy yourself. Just make sure you score more than them."
Absolutely.
And that was it. Some people say, "Oh, he must have been. He knew everything." He wasn't like that. He just told you to go out and play and enjoy yourself.
As we're recording today, Mason Greenwood has just signed a new 5-year contract at Manchester United with an option of a 6th year, which could keep him at the club until 2027. Willie, I'll come to you first in this one. He's playing in the right-hand side of the attack at the moment. Many people think he could go on to be a central striker. What have you made of his progression? He's still only 19 years of age.
He's a kid and he has great promise. I like him very much. He's not a winger. And again, he's going to come in, just as done with Rashford and Martial, played them wide, Lukaku, or whatever his name was, playing them wide, the strikers. And that's where he should be playing. He's always going to do a job for you, and he's always going to, but he'd score loads more goals if he was playing the striker's position and getting ammunition from other players. I'm delighted that he's signed a new contract. And you know what I think about Ollie. He needs 5 years. He's got to get rid of all. How many times have I said it? All the players that got him the job, they're still there. He's got to get rid of them because they've got everybody jobs. Otherwise, they'll be getting someone else the job. He's got to get rid of the dross, and there's so much of it. But he's on the right track. And I think he'll be a good manager. I think he'll be a great manager in the end for us. What he's done this year is a miracle. Second in the league, I'm delighted.
Well, I mean, it was a miracle that we got to third last year. I mean, what were we? 15th in the league at one point, and then from nowhere suddenly, there we came.
And that's with what we've got. Can you imagine what he'll do when he gets all his own players in? Robert, he's a good lad. He was, the nice thing about him, he was a very, very good player himself. He's not a coach. He's not a glorified school teacher who's come in here with a coaching badge, trying to tell everybody how to play. He knows what he wants because he could play himself. He knows what he's looking for. And the players will respect him because he's better than they were, all of them. He was better than any of the people at Old Trafford at the moment. So therefore, he commands respect. He doesn't demand it.
I was going to ask that very question because it does seem as if they really do look up to their skip to the manager, that he's because they know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he does. Yes,
just on Greenwood, Robert, he's a player who, as Willie said, he's playing in the right-hand side at the moment, but many think he could be a striker. Is he one of your favourite players at the moment, alongside maybe a Rashford or a Fernandes?
Isn't it interesting? My favourite players vary bit by bit, and it does take a little while for the newcomers to get my loyalty. The ones that I now, we've had some fantastic players at United that I've adored, and a lot of the names, we've had so many that I'm not going to remember most of their names. Who was the Argentinian player who used to play left back about 10, 15 years ago?
Gabriel Heinze? That's
the one. My God, I used to think
I wouldn't have got that. I must tell you, I wouldn't have got that. It's unbelievable. How do you know that?
Well, because because there are some that just get imprinted on the who's currently. I've got to say, Wan-Bissaka is growing on me enormously. I think he's a terrific find for United, and it's not always great, but he's got that speed on the right there, and also the best tackler I think I've ever seen at United. I mean, the best soft tackler, in other words, not giving away too many free kicks. Him I like. I'll tell you who's growing on me is Cavani. He's growing on me quite a lot, but not the fact he scores goals, but the fact he works so hard. This guy is covering, I don't know what, I've not looked at the stats, but he must be amongst the top 3 in terms of ground covered when he's playing. And there are some that I think will possibly not stay the course because they just, I don't know. I mean, are we allowed to name names on this show?
Yes, of course you can.
Are we allowed to be critical?
If you mention Paul Pogba, Willie will take over the show. Don't worry.
Well, I remember when Paul Pogba first came to the club, and this lanky young man who looked quite sharp. And I've got to say, I was astonished when Fergie let him go, because I thought this boy could develop into something. And then he came back, and he looked okay. And then I thought, why don't you get on with it? Just move. He's always on his heels, or always seems to be loping around rather than getting into interesting positions. Every now and again, he does that fantastic thing that Fernandes can do, and a few others can do, but not many. Paul Scholes could do. Is that pass that is, the 50-yard pass onto a toe, and Pogba every now and again can do that. But I mean, those are the most exciting moments in football, I think, when somebody does a diagonal pass onto a foot. And that's the other thing. The boys, really, when you were playing, were all the players as completely skilled at ball control as these youngsters seem to be? I know it's a different ball. I know, because I played with the big soggy leather one.
And the different pitches. The pitches are amazing. What they're playing on is like unbelievable.
So they're flatter, and therefore there's not a variable bounce on it. But their control is exquisite to watch. I mean, sometimes it's breathtaking. A ball coming in from a height, to be able to take it on your instep and bring it down, and still have it absolutely at your feet when it arrives and hits the turf. I think they're fantastic.
That's the good bit. Then they pass it back 50 yards.
I know. That's the. Oh God, I've lost all the names. Who is our Belgian with all the hair? That we came
Fellaini.
Fellaini.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, God.
He defies the description of footballer.
Oh,
he was dreadful.
Well, do you know, I remember talking to Bill Kemmer the year we bought him, and I think we bought him at the last minute, the last hour of the deadline, and we paid 28 million for him, I think it was.
Yes. And
Bill rang me the following day, absolutely pinning himself with laughter. He said, "We can't believe that you've done that."
Well, we did it, obviously. And, they have a holiday in Liverpool now. That day when he was transferred to United, they have a public holiday. They were so happy that he left. Anyway, he's not on his own, no. He got another one, Matic, my God. Fred. Pogba's agent. I used to send him a Christmas card, Pogba's agent. But he promised he would get rid of him in January to anywhere, and he didn't. So he's not on the Christmas card list anymore.
He's had a little flash, didn't he? He had a flash about 6 weeks when he played really well, but then it sort of vanished again. He's a worry. I've got to say, there are players I do like. I've always appreciated Mata. I think he's a really good guy to have to be able to bring him on, because he's another one who never stops running, never stops looking for space.
Well, he can create. The nice thing about Mata, he can create.
Yeah, exactly.
Good feet, and he can create. And again, he needs people to play with, though. He needs people that he can pass the ball, people that make a run that he can pass the ball to. And he never got that. But I like Mata, I must admit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also quite like Herrera too when he was playing. I thought
Yeah.
he was
all right. He was all
he
right.
worked very hard.
But, you know, I just think that it's 5 years. It's a 5-year job. And he's been, what, a couple of years now? They got to just let him get on with it. And there's nothing to beat. The thing is, there's nothing to beat. You know, I said the teams at the bottom are just as good as the teams at the top. Somebody having a bit of luck. Somebody having a bit of luck.
They've also got slightly, in many ways, they've got slightly more to lose, and therefore they're in danger of being more committed sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sheffield United game, it will still is
and
burnt into my brain.
I mean, these are teams you should be beaten, obviously. But in saying that, we're still up there.
I know.
Yeah, you know, could be worse. Yeah,
It could be.
You could be a Liverpool supporter at the moment, so it could be worse.
Champions League next year. That's okay. I mean, let's not worry about winning the Premiership. We'll do that eventually. But
absolutely. One of the things I need to ask you about, Robert, is your friendship with Willie and what you made of him when he was a player, because he's a guy who, when we record this show, every single week we get 3 pages of questions for him. He's an icon.
Well, he had the number 7 shirt too. I've always, when I see this photograph in my snooker room, when I see this photograph, because I've kind of forgotten what shirt I wore. This is when I was playing for the Showbiz. And I played for that for 10 years. And I love, suddenly the number 7 shirt became, well, I knew it was iconic because Willie wore it. But then all the great players suddenly wore it. So I thought, oh, rock on, I must have been doing something right. Yeah, it's, I used to, oh God, Willie he was a legend, of course he was. I mean, all of us, all the United players. I remember talking to Dennis Waterman, who was my closest and oldest friend, Chelsea supporter. But hey, you can't have everything. But we used to have great, not rows, but we used to have a very great bickering going on about who was the best player. And you won always, got to say, always. With a bit of help from me.
You know, Callum, when I first met Robert in Marbella, I'd gone over to play in Jimmy Tarbert Golf Classic in Marbella, and I think we were staying at the Andalusia Plaza. We stayed at.
That's right. God, you've got a memory.
And I'd gone over there and went down to the bar. It was about, I don't know, 6 o'clock, 6:30. And it was like an L-shaped bar. And I went round the side and I saw Robert coming in. I thought, oh my God, it's Jesus. If I just go and say, hi, I'm Willie Morgan. You know, I've seen your movie. You're fantastic. Then I thought he might just say, oh, you know, get lost. And I'm thinking of all the things that I could go and say to him to introduce myself. Anyway, I didn't. And then within about 10 minutes, Henry Cooper walked in. Now, I happen to know Henry very well. And Henry came in, hey, Bob, how are you? Oh, great, and the thing. And then Henry looked through and said, Willie, come and say hello to Robert. Do you know Robert? I said, no. And that's how we first met. Do you remember that, Robert?
1981, was it?
Yeah, 1981. Absolutely.
And you had a picture made for me that's in my snooker room of me with Matt, and we're standing holding a glass together, and you had it made up into a kind of oil painting.
Fantastic.
Style. and that is in my snooker.
Yeah.
You're in there.
I was in awe. I was in awe. So, and we've been, friends ever since, him and Babs. The wonderful.
Yeah, well, listen, Willie, I remember at a charity do trying to get Brian Statham's autograph. And we ended up, he said, I'm only going to give you my autograph if you give me yours. And I thought, hasn't the world come an extraordinary way?
That's not,
Brian Statham, what a hero.
That's how the world works, It's just about nice people. At the end of the day, no matter who you are, what you've done, what you've got, what you've not got, if you've got good friends, that makes the world go round.
Willie, when I think of those days, those weekends at Mere,
the queue. The queue was very special,
Best time.
I spoke to Mathis last week. We speak all the time, and of course he's tearing his hair out because of the lockdown over there. But he said, "Oh, I sneaked down to Riviera. He couldn't get on the course, but he went down to practice ground." So I said, "You hitting the ball all right?" "Well, it was okay." So, and I said that you were coming on. I said, hopefully I'm going to get Robert. So pass on his regards.
Thank you. Oh, I have such fond memories of those weekends.
We've got so many questions that have come in. I'm going to start with two people who you both know quite well. I'm going to start with Vincent from Cheshire. He's got in touch to ask. Question for Robert, if it's not too late. Has he ever performed in a musical or an acting role where he's had to sing?
Yeah. No, I did a musical, a big musical called, which actually we brought it to the Opera House, 1993. So that's a long time ago. Yeah, it's 28, nearly 30 years. Sherlock Holmes, the musical. Yeah, I loved it. In fact, when I did it, we did a big tour of the UK. When I did it, I used to say to people, I'm never going to go back to straight acting. I love this. I like this too much. It's great.
Vincent is arguably the biggest Johnny Mathis fan on this planet. Knows everything and anything. And of course, I'm an Elvis fan. And of course, Elvis in a different league. So Vincent, I know you'll be listening. I know you'll be watching. So he wanted to ask you, who did you prefer, Elvis or Mathis? Don't have to answer
that. Staying on the theme of music, we've got another one from Alan, and this is a question that I'm surprised we've not had it before now, and I'll come to both of you on it. I'll come to you first, Willie. Who do you prefer, the Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Rolling Stones.
Oh, that was very quick.
Yeah, no brainer, yeah. Rolling Stones.
Robert, would you agree?
No, I came to the Beatles first, and then I found the Rolling Stones just a little bit later. But I kind of, my rock and roll when I was a kid was, apart from Bill Haley, which
we all did Bill Haley bit.
It was my first. Bill Haley in the comics, Rock Around the Clock.
Yeah.
I think that I am, as a rock and roll, I think you'd call me soft rock. I mean, as I grew older, I loved. I'm going to tell you the bands I used to love: Crosby, Stills and Nash, the Eagles, Yes. So they were all these bands that were not quite as brash. But I love the Stones. I'm not very fond of loud music for loud music's sake, though. I quite like lyrics and things.
Another question. John gets in touch to ask, Robert, if you played football professionally, which position do you think you would have played?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one, because as I say, I started out, and I don't know why, at uni, I started out at left fullback, but not a straight fullback. as I say, I can't remember in the 60s any team formally having a back four. I mean, that came 20 odd years later, but we did it. And as I say, we won our league, 19 games without a loss. And I loved it, but it was wing. It was running up and down the wing. I was never a striker, not really. But
You're right-footed. You're
I'm
right-footed.
right-footed, yeah, right-footed. So I don't know why I started on the left, and I'm not quite sure. I think later on, when I was playing for the Showbiz 11, I think there was somebody else who actually was a proper left wing, and I moved to the right with my number 7 shirt on. But,
Just on the Showbiz 11, Ian got in touch to ask who else played in the Showbiz 11.
Dennis Waterman played in the Showbiz 11, and in the old days, in fact, who didn't play in it? Sean Connery played in it. Jimmy Tarbuck played in it. I used to play. I played against. Who now? I played against. I played against them. I played against. Oh God. Who was a Newcastle player? Milburn.
Jackie Milburn.
Jackie Milburn. Jackie Milburn nutmegged me with about 5,000 people at the ground, and he turned to them and took a bow.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Good days those.
Oh, they were. I played with Jimmy Greaves, and I played with Bobby at one point when in 1970. Was there a World Cup in '74?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Germany.
And when did Bobby go to manage Preston? I think it was around '74. He was commentating. I said it was. He was commentating at the BBC.
Yeah. Okay.
For the World Cup, and my mate was the floor manager at the BBC for sport, and Laurie McMenemy was there as well. And Laurie and Bobby both said they've got an afternoon off, and they both said they would love it. They loved it. Bobby particularly, because he was actually going to be player manager, wasn't he, at Preston? And he wanted a run around. And I got a call, and somebody said, "Can you get up to Roehampton Sports Ground, in about an hour?" And I said, "Why?" I said, "Because Bobby Charlton wants a kickabout." And I went, and we had it. We had a kickabout with Laurie, Bobby, me, and Chris Lewis, the floor manager at BBC Sport. And so I played with some great, lovely.
Isn't that though? It is amazing.
Yeah.
Lynn Cameron, who is a big friend of the show, asks, what is Robert up to now?
I am sitting on my backside doing nothing. No, it's virtually impossible. There's nothing for an actor to do. I mean, a lot of the younger actors have been very, very enterprising and have developed shows that are probably technically. I think the problem is they're probably technically beyond me. The use of the internet is something which I am fairly peripheral on. I mean, I know how to get on Zoom.
That's better than me.
I know it's you. I think if you tell me that Willie was an expert, I'd say, I'd say nonsense. That's not the Willie I know. No, I can't work. I do. I'm a member of the Garrick Club, and we do shows, but we do them online. What do they call them? Zoominars, or I think something. I do that, and readings of stuff, and that's quite nice. But no, there's nothing else to do, so I walk the dogs, and then I go and walk the dogs.
Robert, I've only found out how to work YouTube. Never mind the internet. My granddaughter Jessica showed me. I said, "Oh, I'd love to get YouTube." She said, "Well, you just put it on the telly, Grandad." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Oh, give me the control." I said, how did you do that? So she showed me how to do it. And of course, now I'm besotted with YouTube. I mean, I play music mostly on it.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. But I had the TV for years, and I said, oh, I don't know that the TV doesn't do that. She said, of course it does.
There's nothing you can't see.
Oh, well, well, you know, footballers are thick. We're all thick, you know.
I've got to say, that is absolute nonsense. The one thing you aren't is thick. We've known each other for 40 years now.
Oh, I know.
It is 40 years, and it is. I am so proud. I can tell you this, Callum. I'm so proud of knowing young Willie there. It's because we've just for 10 or so years in the 80s we were playing golf in Portugal and Spain, and then we had all the golf days that we used to do at Moor Park.
Yeah, Howard Keel Golf Classic. Yeah, he was a lovely man. Howard was a lovely man.
Oh,
big gentle giant. You know, he was so easy. Anything you asked him, he'd do anything you wanted. He was so kind and so easy.
I think the last time I saw him was when they asked me to do the show at the Lowry. A sort of a
Harold.
Yeah,
Harold Riley.
interviewing him.
Yeah.
And
that was amazing, by the way.
Well, Judy said to me when I got there, she said, don't be upset, but he may not remember you.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and how remember me? I got the biggest hug.
Oh.
It was wonderful.
He was brilliant with people. You know, every year he came over, and like yourself, so many of the lads would come up and say, Willie, he came over and said, hi, Tom, hi, Joe.
Yeah.
He said, remember my name? I said, yeah, he's very, very kind.
He was lovely.
They were good days, Bill. They were really good days.
Is Judy still
alive? She's all right. She's back in Florida. We got a Christmas card. Her daughter's in the movies not as an actress, but she's working. Her husband is something to do with producing movies, whatever. And she's in that game now. Yeah, we're still, and Harold, of course, they're still in contact as well. Mr. Riley, you know, he's not been very well. He's not very well at the moment. Another absolutely wonderful, wonderful human being, you know. So, yeah, you just know so many nice people.
I was going to say, aren't we lucky? Aren't we? When I count, you know,
same age. I'm 57.
This COVID nightmare. I just remember the fact that I've met down the years so many people who were amazing.
Fantastic people, so nice.
I managed to stay in touch with most of them.
We've got two.
I've got something here for you, Callum, just before you go on. I must remember, I've got something here, Robert, for your snooker room. It's the Magnificent Sevens, and it's the picture of the it's framed. So how I get it to your place without it getting broken, I'm going to try and work it out how we can get it down to you. I think you might like it for your snooker room. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a Manchester United produced DVD called the Magnificent Sevens. And this is the front of the DVD. Anyway, my daughter Gaynor got it done and it's framed. And anyway, it's here for your snooker room when I get a chance to get it to you.
Okay, fantastic. I got some great people in my snooker room. I got Cliff Thorburn, because Cliff used to come and practice because he didn't have a snooker table.
I know.
Champion of the world.
Good golfer.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
He and I won a few tournaments together. Somebody said, you'd he's so much better than you are, people said. And I said, yeah. I said, well, why does he play with you? Because he could find a much better partner. And I said, because I make him laugh.
Yeah, he's a good golfer, Cliff. So and a nice guy, as they were. You know, they all were. Dennis, Willie, Dennis Taylor, Willie Thump, all those people. Hurricane, of course, who was my great friend.
I spoke to Willie to Cliff a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Is he back in Canada?
Yeah, he's in Toronto. Yeah, he's been there now.
I know he's been back there. If you're speaking to him again, pass on my regards.
Of course so.
Please.
Of course so.
Sorry, Callum.
We've got 2 questions. We're rushed a wee bit for time. We've just got three minutes to go here. So Robert, this last one for you is: was playing Jesus your most challenging role?
I would like to say no, but I think it probably was. It wasn't my favorite role by any stretch of imagination, but it was probably the hardest thing I ever did. But for lots and lots of different reasons. It took 9 months to shoot. It carried with it an enormous responsibility because, you know, there are 2 billion people in the world who care. You don't really want to let them down. You don't want to disgrace it in any way at all. It was just hard. But sometimes the Sermon on the Mount that we did with 4 cameras running, but it's 8 minutes long. And we had to, Franco had an idea about the where the sun was and where the clouds were. And he needed it to be shot at exactly 3-4 minutes past 4 o'clock on a Moroccan autumn afternoon. And it's 8 minutes. And I had to learn it. And there was no room for a mistake. So it was that kind of thing. Yeah, it was hard. And yet you can't be funny when you're doing Jesus. I mean, I rely on humor all the time, everything I do. And there are no jokes in Jesus. There really aren't. So that was the hardest thing, I think, probably not being able to crack a joke. I mean, on screen.
The last question I've got for both of you, a brief answer from both of you. Willie, can Manchester United win the league title next season?
Every chance. Every chance. You know, there's nothing to stop us.
I would agree.
Depends who he keeps.
Yeah, I would agree with Willie. There are a couple of tweaks, and I think that I've got to say, Willie, when you're watching the game, when United are playing really well, they do not give the opposition midfield a nanosecond on the ball.
Yeah.
Now and when they back off and let them look up and look where to pass, that's when we start to lose. But if they clatter the midfield and act as a pack too, 2 at a time, then suddenly we look as if we could win anything.
We can do. Our biggest problem is defence. Anyone that attacks us scores goals.
They are a little bit slow, those midfield.
A little bit. They make Paddy Crown look quick.
Is Paddy watching this? He will be, of course.
Can I just say, Callum, along with Albert Finney, Robert Powell, the greatest British actors of all time.
That's a perfect note to finish on. Robert, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Callum, it was a great pleasure. Great pleasure. Thank you. And Willie,
I'll get that
see you soon. Yeah. And we'll talk, okay?
Yeah, we do. Give Babs my love.